Okay, good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This morning, I'm very pleased to have with me as my guest James Huie, who's a partner at Wilson Sonsini. James, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Richard.
James, you have one of the more unusual backgrounds I come across, at least as lawyers concerned. You had a biology and maybe even a biochemistry degree as an undergrad. Tell me what made you choose that major in the first place?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in the Silicon Valley in the 80s and 90s. And in high school, I was programming in during the beginning of the dot-com boom.
Hmm.
But during that time, also in high school, I had a chance to work at my uncle's lab in Brigham and Women's as a high school student. And then when I started Berkeley for undergrad, I majored in MCB, or molecular cell biology.
Hmm.
So I was still on the track learning biochemistry, molecular cell biology, and meanwhile, there was pretty exciting developments in the computational biospace and bioinformatics and whatnot. So I was interested in this space, but I couldn't find the folks that were doing it, like Craig Ventnor or Martin Rees and whatnot. So I said, okay, I didn't find their labs, but instead I said, okay, I'm gonna figure out what to do either in law school or MBA because I decided not to go into the traditional research, the
Hmm.
PhD route.
Hmm.
And I worked at the Tang Center in the gastroenterology clinic. And let's just say it was a crappy internship. And just found that those avenues were not for me.
Huh.
So, with a little bit of lack of guidance, um, I didn't know what to do with my career, and some friends said, "Oh, well, why don't you try law school?"
Oh, interesting, interesting. So did you when you first went to college and chose that major, did you have any aspirations? What was your career thinking at that time?
Um, Half my family is comes from a working class background, and my other half comes from fairly decently heavy biotech background.
Hmm.
So like some aunts and uncles that they were at like I mentioned Brigham and Women's out in Boston, or my mom went to UCSF studied biochemistry, and my aunt and whatnot. So they said, "Oh, do biochemistry. It's what the family does." And
Well,
so I thought, okay, well, that might be a good platform to if I do a PhD route, I can do that. Or if I decide to go into medicine, having that bio background might be helpful.
yeah, yeah. Well, did you at least like complete pre-med or take the MCAT? Did you get as far as that at all?
I took all those prereqs and I was doing pretty good, but I didn't take the MCAT. Instead, I sat for the LSAT on a whim.
I see.
And my colleagues at the time were like, James, I thought we're going to all these programs. Where are you going? Why are you doing law? What happened? And
Interesting. Well, when you went to law school, did you have any idea what kind of lawyer you were going to be?
I didn't because there was no lawyers in my family growing up. And even though I guess on my dad's side, they've been around San Francisco since like prior to 1870s, but
Oh,
just
wow.
never had any attorneys in the family. So my resources were limited to figure out what the career path would be. And so it was mostly just word of mouth from other classmates. And somebody had said, "Oh, I'm meeting this lawyer or so and so's sisters from Wilson Sonsini." And I
Huh.
thought, "Oh, who are those people?" Right? And they're like, "Wilson Sonsini is the number one law firm in the Silicon Valley." And I was like, "Oh, okay. So if I decided to be a lawyer, I should go there." And they're like, "Oh, you do whatever you want, James." But so that was like why I was just laser focused over the years to say,
Huh.
okay, I'm supposed to go to this firm and I'm going to head there. And I've been there actually for the last 18 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just through word of mouth and through colleagues or classmates that I decided to try law in law
Yeah,
school.
yeah. Now, of course, a lot of scientists end up doing patent law. Is that something you even considered, or did someone suggest that idea to you at all?
I started out that track thinking, oh, I love the technical aspects,
Yeah.
and there was had made mentors along the way, and some of my mentors had said, well, without a PhD or a master's degree, it's difficult to be a bio patent attorney.
Mm-hmm.
For other areas, like at the time, semiconductors or chips, it's like, well, you just need a science degree.
Mm.
But when it comes um, for biotech IP or patenting, they recommended to say, well, you should get a PhD or at least a master's. So I put that in the like maybe to do category. Um, and then along the way, then I shifted. I also gave litigation a shot,
Oh, I see.
and
Uh-huh.
it was great. As a summer associate, I had a chance to help out a trial on one of the Monsanto cases.
Uh-huh.
But I found that litigation wasn't for me in terms of my demeanor and my goals is much more adversarial than I liked. And then finally, I got a chance during that same summer associate position to get my feet wet with the transactional side.
Uh-huh.
And there I really enjoyed that. I felt the pace of work and then the challenges to structure certain solutions on the transactional side, along with being able to smile every day. I thought, oh, well, this is great. So then I shifted my focus to transactional law as opposed to
Got it.
corporate
Got it.
law.
So in your practice now, do you get a chance to work with a lot of biology or life sciences company? Is that a focus by any chance because of your background?
Yeah, I would say about 80% of my practice I focus on life science company
Uh-huh.
startup. So really that's like biotech, med tech, digital health, and all of those are fairly broad categories with
Yeah.
different focuses and indications.
Uh-huh.
But um, yeah, I'll take companies all the way from formation coming out of the fabulous universities in the area, like Berkeley, UCSF, Stanford, and then we'll form the companies and do all the incorporation paperwork. Then also do the paperwork for the various rounds of financing,
Mm-hmm.
whether VC or private equity,
Mm-hmm.
later sell side M&A and IPO, and all that corporate governance in between. So that's what we really enjoy the corporate governance aspect, and I have like some of the best attorneys behind me in a Delaware law practice and other practices like privacy and regulatory and whatnot.
Yeah. Do you find that your science background helps to understand some of these clients' businesses? Do you get a little bit more intrigued or interested in studying them than perhaps maybe the average lawyer?
I do, and it's a little bit of a self-proclaimed geek. I get to geek it out.
Uh-huh.
And so when I'm sitting in board meetings or even the first meeting with the company and asking like, well, what's the differentiating factor? Like what
Uh-huh.
problem are you solving?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And when they dive into the science, sometimes I get exactly what the value proposition is.
Yeah.
Other times I have to do my own research and go, oh, okay, got it. And other times I leverage some of our experts. We have these IP experts
Yeah.
that know the space really well, and they
Yeah.
say, "Oh, James, the methylated version is game changing." Great,
Like it.
take some notes.
I
So
like it.
I guess that's what I really enjoy. I'm constantly learning, and I get to really dive in alongside of my companies.
Yeah.
But for myself, I don't have to do the science.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have to do the
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
I don't have to build the company, but I play my role as a corporate attorney to help build these
Yeah.
companies.
Would you ever consider going to medical school in the future?
Not out of the question, and also not out of the question do the PhD. Um, there's growing up, there's a strong pressure for me to go into medicine or do biochemistry,
Yeah.
and I haven't foreclosed that it'd be, maybe in 10 or 15 years or 20 years when I'm looking into, the next stage.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, James, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time and sharing your story. If you do decide to go back to medical school or get a PhD, please come back and tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the interview, Rich.
This is Richard Hsu and James Huie. Thanks.
Thanks, Richard.